All right, so in this lecture, I'm going to be talking about a couple or quite a few systems, not symptoms, in conjunction because they all are dealing with our the safety of our body, the protection against outside. The word is antigens, outside harmful things, and yeah. So let's just kind of jump into these. All right. So first, integumentary system, or integumentary, or I try to say that with a British accent, but that was a fail. But anyway, so the integumentary system comes from the Latin integere, maybe is the way you say it, which means to cover. So the system of covering our body, and that's just basically all of our exterior, our hair, our skin, our nails, everything. It's because it's the most outer covering of our body that protects our internal organs. Okay, and so it's like the very first line of defense our body has is just a wall, right? Just like the most simplest. It's the simplest way our body can just defend itself. It's just putting a physical barrier. Well, if we put a piece of skin, what? It's like saying if we just put a piece of skin there, maybe the bacteria won't go into the heart, right? So anyway, so that's that. The immune system is now we're starting to get a little bit more kind of disparate in terms of like connected stuff. We've talked about the nervous system, which is a bunch of neurons connected throughout our whole body. We've talked about skeletal system, which is a bunch of bones connected throughout our whole body. Muscular system. We've talked about the digestive system, which is all connected from the beginning to the end. Stomach, pancreas, and all that stuff, and intestines, all the way down to excretory system. And we've talked about the respiratory system. We breathe in air into our lungs, and then it pumps to the heart. Heart pumps it to the whole body comes back to the heart, to the lungs, and all that stuff. But now the immune system is not so connected physically. They're more like a bunch of pieces, as you see here, that are like separate all throughout the body. And it's like a bunch of these glands that basically produce hormones and kind of regulate our safety. So, and even in bone marrow, there's even like liquid in the bone that helps with our immune defense. So, it's where blood is made. It's inside our bones. I don't know if you knew that. It's kind of crazy. So, a network of cells and tissues and organs and substances, meaning like the chemicals and the hormones it releases, that fight infections and other diseases in the body, okay? So it's this whole network of a bunch of these little things all over. It's like these little secret agents in like different locations. They're like spies just waiting for something to go down in their part of the neighborhood so they can fight. All right, so there's two types of immune system. One type of immune system is called the innate immune system. This root "nate" kind of comes from nater, I think, natere in Latin. And in Spanish, you say nacer, be born. It looks like bomb. Born. When you're born, the way to say that is nacer. So I was born. Yo nací in Florida. So innate is just something you're born with. So that's innate immune system. So the innate immune system consists of phagocytosis of invasive antigens by the body's macrophages. Okay, so there's three kind of keywords there we're going to break down. Phagocytosis, process of eating cells, okay? So anytime you see phago, it's to eat. I'm trying to think. Can't think of anything. Cyto means cells, like cytosol or cytoplasm. Cytokinesis in meiosis means the movement of cells away from each other. Cytosol is just like or cytoplasm is just the plasm inside the cells. So phagocytosis Osis is the process or condition of. Oh, that's supposed to be an or. All right. So phagocytosis. Okay. So basically eating cells. Okay. Of invasive antigens. All right. So antigens. Antigens are basically anything that's bad for your body's health, like bacteria, viruses, etc. So anti means against. Gen means creating or thing. So like Genesis, the book of Genesis in the Bible, it's the creation story, right? So that's the beginning. Gen is beginning is also another meaning for gen. Generation, right? Our generation, our created people, our beginning, right? So anyway, so antigen is some created thing that is against your body. So the process of eating cells of the invasive things, the invasive anti things for our body. Okay, so that's our innate immune system. Phagocytosis of invasive antigens by what's eating these antigens and doing this phagocytosis? Our body's macrophages are doing that. So here we see phages again, right? So again, macro means big. Phage or phage means to eat. So macrophage is a cell that eats other things in the body. Okay? All right. So now we went over these three words. Phagocytosis is basically the eating of bad things in our body by our macrophages. Or you can think of our macrophages as like the police. Antigens or maybe like the robbers. Phagocytosis is like arresting them. So our police arrest the robbers inside our bodies. So but more like they eat them and just kill them. So that's what literally happens. So macrophages are these big, macro meaning big, right? So it's a big cell. So here's like a picture of a macrophage. And they usually have this like kind of webby like structure all the way around so they can like reach things. It's crazy. And then these macrophages undergo phagocytosis of invasive antigens. I think I hit the nail on the head by now, if I didn't before. Here's like some digital rendition of a macrophage eating like, looks like bacteria here. So innate means we're born with it, right? So we're born with these things. We naturally will get rid of these particular, what's it called? Bacteria or viruses maybe. My eye is just catching an eye on this. Natural killer cells. That's an actual scientific or medical name of this cell. It's called natural killer cells. It helps to strengthen our immune system. It kills, obviously, antigens. These are just types of cells in our immune system. And natural killer cells actually increase in number the more we do exercise. So it's kind of cool. The more you do exercise, the more you strengthen your immune system because you're producing more natural killer cells by the more that you do exercise. Anyway, that's just a side note. Even if it's just running, anything. Okay. Adaptive immune system is our immune system that learns. Okay, so we are not always. Our immune system is not ready to fight every single type of bacteria, every single type of virus, every single type of antigen. So one of the amazing things about our immune system is that it can learn. So the adaptive part of our immune system is the production of antibodies. Antibodies. This can get weird. So antibodies are like the police. Like macrophages is a type of antibody. Okay. This anti means anti the bad guys. This anti for antigen means anti the good guys, us. So antigens are bad for us. Antibodies are our immune system's cells. Okay? This is us, antibodies, and this is the bad guys, bacteria. That can get a little confusing. They probably should have thought of a better word for that. Anyway, so here our body has created antibodies, which basically mark specific proteins on antigens. So, for example, if you get the little, so that, and that's what exactly what a vaccine does. A vaccine gives, a little bit of the virus to us, in some, either dead or partially alive or something, fashion, and then the antibodies are able to mark it and remember the chemical mark. They grab onto it and then keep it and give it to these B cells, these white cells, white blood cells, and then they remember it. They just keep it in their files, per se. And so the next time that this virus comes, when the actual chickenpox, maybe if you're a little kid, you get the chickenpox you get the chickenpox vaccine. Then you get the antibodies mark it. They're able to kill it right away, and then they save it. And then if you're actually going to get the chickenpox for real, your body just fights it right away. Maybe you get a little bit sick, but at least your body's going to get over it. All right, so the adaptive immune system does two things in order to learn, okay? So it produces antibodies in order to fight against antigens. So when a bacteria or virus tries to invade again, after it learns what it is and the protein that marks it, one, it recognizes the antigen, okay? So these antibodies are like, 2319, we got a code red. We found this protein again. It takes it back to the B cells, and it produces a bunch of other types of cells that will fight that thing that it knows will be able to fight it and get rid of it. So then that's what it does. So then after it recognizes it, the antibodies recognize it, go back to these B cells, white blood cells, and then they immediately produce the right antibody to go and fight that virus or bacteria again, okay? So that's our adaptive immune system. Really, really, it's amazing how it, just using chemicals, all of these cells and just different parts of our body can communicate. It's absolutely extraordinary. Lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system, so now we're kind of getting away from the immune, so now we're done with the immune system, but we're still going to be talking about, kind of like the health and well-being of our body. Lymphatic system is in charge of maintaining fluid levels in our body tissues by removing all fluids that leak out of our blood vessels, okay? So, we have all these nodes, in these different parts of our body, glands and whatnot, and all of them chemically communicate with each other. And, once fluid levels in our body are, excreting too much in one area or whatnot, the lymphatic system recognizes these levels chemically and just cleans it up. And then we excrete it somehow, okay? So that's all you need to know about the lymphatic system. It just uses more hormones and chemicals in different parts of our body to measure fluids and just kind of regulate that in our body, all types of fluids, water, salts, soda, whatever. Making sure it's not just like leaking. And then also if there's like a leak in our lungs, if we have a punctured something, right, that it's in charge of that. It helps with that. All right, the endocrine system. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but when we say the word hormones, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe teenagers, maybe puberty, something like that. And that's true. We do have hormones that are new during puberty and at higher levels. However, the word hormone doesn't just mean puberty. The word hormone is a very vast word that embarks almost all chemical signaling in our body. So dopamine is a hormone. There are hormones to digest food. There are hormones to regulate, how fast your heart beats, everything. So, adrenaline is a hormone. So there are hormones, like basically any type of chemical signaling in your body is a hormone. So that just covers a huge portion of what our body does in order to function properly. So basically everything. So the endocrine system is a network of glands and organs that regulate chemicals, all of these hormones and nutrients in the body. So really important, because if the endocrine system is off, our body is going to be way off. We're not going to be we may not be digesting properly. We may not be processing things properly. We may not even be able to reproduce properly. We may not be able to emotionally regulate properly or think properly. All these things. If we're off chemically, our whole body like can be off. And depending on where it is too. Like if it's chemical irregularities in the brainstem, you may not be able to breathe properly, right? Or even go to the bathroom properly. So chemical regulation is super, super important for all functions. If your body is doing any type of function, it's regulated by a chemical. Anything your body does, your body doesn't do anything unless a chemical tells it to do that. Okay, so endocrine system is super important. So that's what the endocrine system does. So the different parts of it. So we've talked about the pancreas before. It breaks down carbohydrates, proteins, sugars, and whatnot. But it mainly helps to regulate. It has hormones to regulate sugar levels and make sure that those are appropriate in the body, the whole body. So if there's too much sugar in our body, it'll produce more insulin hormone to digest more, and if not, then it's just gonna reduce the insulin intake. The thyroid. Okay, thyroid is in the throat here, and the thyroid actually helps to regulate metabolism. It's kind of weird, it's in the throat, but I guess it makes sense because it's in the digestive tract, or near the or just right outside the digestive tract. So it basically helps to secrete hormones. I guess it's through the blood that would kind of make it go down to the stomach, and then those hormones would basically help to metabolize the food that we eat. Okay, now this is the thyroid gland. Okay, from the front, looking at it from the front, like this photo. But then if you were to look at it from the back, and you're behind somebody and you look through their neck, there are these 4 points here where there are these little glands called parathyroid glands. And these little points, these little tiny glands there, help to regulate calcium levels. Okay? So I understand all of these slides can be maybe they're a little bit overwhelming because it's a bunch of specific information that's new. But don't worry, because you're going to have access to these slides no matter what test you're taking. So just as long as you're organizing them appropriately, just don't feel stressed that it's a lot of stuff to intake, okay? So thyroid gland helps to regulate metabolism. The parathyroid gland helps to regulate calcium levels, okay? And it does that through a hormone called parathyroid hormone. Pretty straightforward. I like that. That's the best name of any hormone ever, because it's just the name of where it comes from. All right, another part of the endocrine system are the adrenal glands. Adrenal glands usually refer to your kidneys. Oops, dropped my pen there. So here are your kidneys. In fact, in Spanish, the way to say kidney is riñón, with an ñ and then a regular n at the end. Riñón. So riñones are your kidneys. And so adrenal, this is what anything you see with the root word renal is dealing with your kidneys. So like if you have renal failure, it means your kidney, it's called that's kidney failure. So the adrenal glands, I think if they put the ad because it's like above or like near the riñones or the kidneys. So adrenal is like right next to the kidneys, glands. So these little glands right here, and they help regulate many extra hormones. A lot of things, just like a list of things. All right, and then obviously we have these parts of our endocrine system that deal with the reproduction. So we have the better term for this is testes. 1 testis, 2 testes, testes and ovaries. So testes are in men, ovaries are in women, which is right here, these ovaries. And then the testes in males regulate or produce hormones such as testosterone, And the ovaries in females regulate hormones like estrogen and progesterone and things like that. So, but these are the two most common in male and female. And obviously that deals with, sperm production and egg ovulation, which we'll get into in, I think, the next video.